All right, in this video, we're going to break down exactly 3 steps how you can double, even triple your appointment setting rate. This is when you are outbound dialing. So that is cold calling, that is calling leads from inbound ads, anywhere where you are attempting to get your prospects on the phone to set a future sales appointment. And these 3 steps are the exact things that I did in my sales journey that was able to take me from someone who's completely terrified and timid of actually picking up the phone and dialing to someone who can do this with my eyes closed and really just actually get a lot of enjoyment out of it. So I want to break down these 3 steps in the video. And if you're new here, my name is Brian Downard, one of the partners at Prospecting on Demand. We've helped more than 1,000 high-ticket B2B agencies, consultants, and coaches scale their business with our prospecting in a box systems. So if you want to check that out, there's a link below, but let's dive into this video. And if you are what we call a princess closer, this is not for you. What's a princess closer, you may ask? So a princess closer is someone who only takes self-booked calls and they're not actually willing to dial the leads. Now, if you're not willing to dial your leads, this is not going to be for you. But if you know that the single most valuable thing you can do when you're not on sales calls is generate more sales calls, stay tuned because you're going to absolutely love this video. So like I said, this works for cold or warm leads. It's really all the same to me, but there's going to be 3 major steps we want to cover. And here in this video, we're going to take them from not knowing you, question mark of who you are, all the way through these 3 steps to a happy place where they book the appointment and you're getting more sales calls on your calendar. And so the first step here is going to be controlling the frame. Now, the biggest thing that I see new setters or closers come in and get completely wrong is they allow the prospect to actually dictate and run the conversation. So it's really important to understand that the person who is asking the questions is the one controlling the conversation. But as soon as that flips and they start asking you questions and you have to go on defense mode, it's very hard to dig yourself out of that because they are now looking for reasons to not trust you to hang up because they're sensing and seeing a pattern and they're trying to just get you off the phone as quickly as possible. So that's the first thing to understand. And what I will share with you before I get into how you actually control the intro frame, and there's really just 2 very simple things you need to do here. I want to give you 3 examples of ways you are totally killing yourself and literally shooting yourself in the foot when you pick up the phone and you start to dial. So anytime that you leave the door too wide open where they can come at you again with a question or an objection within the first 20 seconds, 30 seconds in the conversation, again, you are now playing defense, not offense. And so what this looks like is if you ask them questions like, hey, how you doing today? Or, hey, does that ring a bell? Or another just very obvious one that is overlooked quite consistently is saying that you're calling from the name of a specific business instead of an individual. So let's just break these down really quickly. When you ask them, hey, how you doing today? Or hey, does that ring a bell? These are patterns that their brain senses that they've heard from other people before. And when you have a random stranger calling your phone and asking how you're doing today, your first reaction is probably gonna be like, I guess good. Who is this? What is this about? And immediately they took the frame because they're asking the questions. Or when you say ring a bell, that immediately is, yeah, it rings a bell in their head, all right, but it rings the bell of, hey, I've heard this before. I'm going to get off the phone as quickly as I can with this person. And then that third subtle one around saying a business name versus a person. Again, this is just my recommendation, but I typically like to say that I'm calling from an individual's name. Like, hey, this is Brian here, just calling from Alex Schlinsky's team, instead of saying, hey, just Brian here calling from Prospecting on Demand. Because again, when they hear the name of the business, they associate that pattern with someone who's cold calling them, someone who's just trying to interrupt their day. But when you can use the name of a person, it maybe will give them a little bit of a pattern interrupt, like, wait, who is Alex Schlinsky? Should I know him? What is this about? And then you're going to have your foot now in the door a little bit versus it being swung wide open where they can just run outside. And so let's actually get into the 2 very simple steps around this first piece here and how you actually control the frame. So step 1.1 here is going to be very simple. You essentially want to get a name confirmation from them. So we're going to get their name, confirm it's them, plus what I call a softball question. The softball question is going to be absolutely critical. And so what I like to do is when they first pick up the phone, so ring, ring, hello, who's this? Or hello, how can I help you? You're immediately going to go to, hey, Brian, right? That's it. That's all you need to do. I know it sounds earth shattering, right? You've never heard this before, but the nuance is important here. But I do not want you to ask is, hey, is this Brian? those are the same questions, but with a different context, right? When you say, "Hey, Brian," right? This sounds much more like you know them and you are just affirming that it is in fact them versus like, "Hey, is this Brian?" or "Hey, is Brian available?" It seems like you are calling and you are unsure about who you're actually communicating with. And their first feedback isn't go, "Well, you should probably know who this is if you're calling me," or at least that's what they're thinking. And so it's very subtle, but immediately you are asking them a question that their brain cannot ignore. It's very simple to just get them to say, "Yeah, this is Brian." And so then you immediately go into now the context, right? So once you get their name, then you go into context. And the context is going to be why you're actually reaching out to them. So they don't have to reach for like, what does this person want? What do they want from me essentially? And so when we are calling new leads coming from our ads, the intro would go something like this. "Hey, Brian, right? Hey, what's going on, Brian? It's actually also Brian from Alex Schlinsky's team. I saw you had recently responded to one of our ads. So I just wanted to personally reach out, make sure you got the help you were looking for." And then you go into your softball question. So your softball question is going to be a binary yes or no question that makes it very easy for them to affirm that, first of all, they are the right person. So it's a qualifying question, but it's very easy to answer yes or no. And it gets your foot in the door that much further because they are affirming that, yeah, I am that person. And so what I like to ask for my softball questions are, "Hey, you run a marketing agency, right?" Or again, depending on what your niche is or who you serve, that could be the context of, "Hey, you run a roofing company, right?" Or, "Hey, you run XYZ plumbing, right?" And again, it's a very easy thing for them to affirm so they feel like they're on the right spot. Now, if you want another bonus here, I always like to add a little humor depending on the person that I'm speaking with. And to me, the humor might be something at this point of like, "Okay, great. Well, our marketing team is not fired this month. Good for them. I'm glad I'm talking to the right person." And now you're into the conversation. And so it's very, very subtle, but this just 30, to 60-second intro will make or break the conversations that you're having. So I'll run through it one more time. "Hey, this is Alex, right? Hey, what's up, Alex? It's just Brian here from John Smith's team. I actually saw you just reached out to through one of our ads a little bit ago. I just wanted to personally reach out and see you were getting, if you got the help you needed. You run a marketing agency, right?" And so if you're also hearing me do this kind of like live, you're hearing a little bit of confused, concerned tonality that I'm leveraging as well. This is not what this video is about, but when you can do that as well, and you're not monotone and you're not just, "Hey, this is Brian," right? Like you're going to invoke a lot more intrigue and interest from them because people, when they hear that tonality, they want to help. It's subconscious. We're like, "Oh, this person seems a little bit confused. Let me help them and make sure that that they know exactly who they're speaking to." And I'm not saying that out loud, but that's a split second decision versus like, "Hey, Alex, right? Hey, it's just Brian from POD. How you doing today?" And now you just left the door wide open for them to give you an objection, right? Now you still may get objections, but this will help you control that initial 30 seconds and make them feel like they are in the right spot. Okay, so that is the first kind of portion of this 1.1. Let's talk about 1.2. So again, this is after the humor, which is optional. You're going to come down here. And this is going to be taking away their ammo. So take away their ammo. And now what does this mean? Essentially, people will be already having this subconscious like conversation and dialogue of like, what is this about? What are they? And if they bring that up, which they very likely will, it's much harder for them to do that if you take it away from them when you already speak to the subconscious thoughts that they are having. And so what I do here is something to the effect of, "Hey, I know I'm calling you out of the blue, and I don't have a ton of time myself because I'm actually between calls. I guess I was just curious to like see if this even makes sense later, and then you can go into whatever your next question is. As usually is typically going to be something like, "Hey, like, what were you looking for since you took the time to kind of opt into that ad?" And so what did I do here? I immediately told them like, "Yeah, I know I'm acknowledging that I'm calling you out of the blue. And two, I'm busy myself because I'm between calls. But three, like this isn't going to take a lot of time," because they're immediately thinking, "Why are you calling me out of the blue? I don't have a lot of time for this." And so when you take that from them, it makes it much harder for them to use it against you. And so you're saying all the things that they're thinking in their head, and you're just putting it out on the table so they feel more comfortable to be like, "Oh, okay, well, I guess this guy does know this song and dance. So I'm going to be open to have this conversation." They can't use it now against you. Now, they still could, which is going to be what the next part of this is. But this is is all the first step, right? So just to kind of recap, you want to make sure you are the one controlling the frame by the one asking the questions. And then you want to get into the initial part of your conversation with two questions, confirming it, who you're speaking with. Hey, Brian, right? And then two, your softball question. So, hey, you run a marketing agency. After the context, humor, take away their ammo. So let's just do one full like run from the top. You can kind of hear how this works. Hey, John, right? What's going on, John? It's just Brian from Alex Schlinsky's team. I know I'm calling you out of the blue, but I actually saw you just respond to one of our ads on Facebook, possibly looking for more help. So I just wanted to personally reach out. You run a marketing agency, right? Okay, cool. Well, it looks like our marketing team is not fired this month. Good for them. Joking aside, since you took some time to go through that, I'm just between calls myself, by the way. Like, I don't want to take up a lot of your time. I'm sure you're busy as well. What kind of spoke to you about that ad? Was there something specific you were looking for help with, or just kind of looking for ideas? That is how I would run my intro. So very friendly tonality, kind of like I already know them. Not super friendly, like over the top best friend. I reserve that for follow-ups. That is another fun pattern interrupt we can get into in another video. But this is going to be key to just getting your foot in the door and not immediately getting hung up on or associated with other sales reps and outbound dialers who have no idea what they're doing. Okay, cool. Let's rock through the next piece here. All right, so step two is going to be what I call sidestepping their objection. So sidestep objection, because it is very likely that they will bring an objection to you. So, hey, can you call me back later? I'm in the middle of something. Or, hey, can you just send me an email and I'll get back to you later? Or, hey, I don't remember doing that. Who are you calling? What is this about? Any version of that, you want to essentially ignore it. Now, when I say ignore it, you don't actually ignore it. You acknowledge what they said, but then you just move into the next question. And because a lot of times people, their brains cannot ignore that question. But it's very important that if they throw out another objection or they dig in, you need to learn how to read the room. What does that mean? Now, I've been in situations where I've called someone and I can clearly hear based on the background noise that there is something going on. And so they give me an objection like, hey, I'm really busy right now. Can you call me back later? I lean in, I sidestep, and I kind of ignore that first objection and I go for it again. And they really like push back like, hey, I'm in the middle of something. And if you can hear the kids screaming in the background, or there's clearly like a lot of noise, something that's just happening, and they're clearly like pissed off and frustrated, you don't want to be the straw that breaks the camel's back and be the outlet by which now they're going to take that out on you. And so read the room. Sometimes you will have to call them back and maybe they won't pick up. Sometimes you will have to just let that one go. But I always try to ignore the first objection and you just roll right into whatever your next question is, because again, the person asking the questions is controlling the conversation. So let's role play this out for a couple of examples. So you go through your whole intro like, hey, Brian, I'm actually in the middle of something right now. Do you mind calling me back later? And so I'm gonna go, yeah, that's totally fine. I could do that for you. I guess just to like see if it even makes sense for you later, so I don't waste your time then. Blah blah blah. Whatever. What? Why did you reach out? Was there something specific you were looking for, or just looking at ideas? Now you're back into it. You completely sidestep it. And we will review a lot of calls with our sales team. I've saw multiple calls just this morning where our sales reps successfully just sidestepped the first objection and just rolled into the next question. And that person opened up because their brain could not ignore that question. And so, and another version of this is like, hey, Brian, like, thanks for reaching out, but like, could you just send me an email and then I'll get back to you guys later if I'm interested? Hey, yeah, Brian, like more than happy to do that for you. I guess to see like, if what would you even want to see in that email? Like, what were you kind of hoping this would even solve for you? And so acknowledge what they said. Don't take it at face value and say, sure, I'll call you back later. Because guys, that's a knee-jerk reaction that they have. They're just trying to get you off the phone, not because they hate you, but probably because they are busy, or this is how they deal with normal salespeople when they pick up the phone. Like, how do you react when a salesperson calls? And so all of those common objections, you need to be ready to handle head on, but also be willing and able to just sidestep it initially and go right into your next question. This will make a huge difference in your ability to actually get through to the right people, get the information you need out of them, and ultimately get the sales call. Now, what I also want to recommend here is that you are always coming from a place of service. And this is my attempt at drawing a heart, but sales is something that you need to be doing for them. So oftentimes doing something for someone which is in their best interest is often not something that they always want to do. And I know this is a stranger you've probably never met before. When you genuinely come from this place of I will do them a disservice if I let them get off the call. You have to genuinely believe that, right? That their time is best spent with you right now, helping them solve a painful problem and getting them to open up about that problem so that you can point them in the right direction. Because if you don't challenge that and you just let them give you whatever objection they want at face value, and you don't try and come from this deep place and this deep sense of, I need to serve this person, and letting them off the phone is a disservice, you will, and that belief will transcend whatever doubt that they have. And what do I mean? In sales and setting, it is a battle between two people of one has certainty and one has the opposite of that, right? They are uncertain. Like what is, and they're trying to get off the call. And so whoever is more right is going to win that conversation. What do I mean by that? You have to have so much belief in what you do and what you're selling and the fact that you're reaching out to them that they can borrow the belief for themselves because they have disbelief. They have uncertainty. They're not sure. They don't want to spend more time with a random stranger unless they feel like they're going to actually get something out of it. And so that brings us to the third step here. And this is something called sell the sales call. Now, if you've watched any of my videos before, sell the sales call. And by the way, as a little bit of commercial break here, if you're enjoying this video, do me a huge favor, hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. It helps us out a lot, helps us reach new people, and I'll be forever indebted for you doing that and appreciate you giving me your most valuable asset, your time, to help you hopefully get a little bit better here in sales. So in terms of actually selling the sales call, what do I mean by this? Your job when you're doing outbound dialing is not to sell the product or the service. It's to actually sell them on giving you some of their time later. And so what this looks like is, and I mentioned the coming from this place of service, we have a silly saying here where, do you know what everyone's favorite radio station is? It's WIIFM. What does that stand for? What's in it for me? And if you cannot explicitly share with them what is in it for them, what they're going to get out of it, even if they don't buy, they need to have this very high level of certainty that they're going to get some level of value out of that conversation with you, or they will not show. They'll prioritize something else. They'll say yes, you'll get happy ears, think you booked the call, but you weren't reading between the lines and they're actually never going to show up. They were just being polite. And let's be real, like some people don't actually know how to say no. And so what I try to do is understand that everyone does in fact have time, but you have to make them feel and believe that it's actually worth their time to give you some of that. And so what I try and do when they get into detailed questions around the product or what we do, or like, what is this about? Or what are you guys even selling? I never try and make it about me or us. I make it about why other people come to us so that that prospect I'm speaking to can associate one of the reasons or things or problems that they have with one of those outcomes for other people to come to us. Because if I just say, yeah, well, we do this and this and this, it sounds very self-serving. But when I talk about, hey, why other people come to us, it's self-serving for the prospect you're speaking to because they can put themselves in the shoes of that other person, that persona, and step into like, yeah, you know what? That actually does sound like it would be helpful. And so what I do when someone just pushes back, well, what do you guys like even do? I say, yeah, like I could nerd out about this with you all day, honestly. And like I said, I don't want to take up a ton of your time, but there's three main reasons why people typically come to us. One is they need help getting clarity around their offer and pricing and positioning. Number two is they're just looking to get more consistent sales calls booked without doing like outbound or using referrals. And then number three is they want to also sharpen that blade around their selling. And I guess just out of curiosity, is like one of those things maybe true for you, or was there something else you were needing help with? And so again, I'm not just ending with a statement. I'm rolling into my next question so I control the frame and I move the conversation forward. I don't stay stuck there like, well, like, what is this about? Where are you from? I don't remember doing that. If you stay stuck there for too long, they will, again, build up the ammo they need in their mind to just get off the call with you. So you have to very quickly roll into whatever your next question is, like we talked about before, sidestepping that objection. But selling the sales call is also this idea of telling them what they're going to get. So I use basically what I call a worst case frame. And so what I'll tell them is, hey, based on everything you just shared with me, if I could be direct, I think what would be most helpful for you is if we just set up a quick, 15, 20-minute call a little bit later this week with one of our pros. They can walk you through exactly what we do. And worst case, you'll walk away with a really good game plan. So even if we ultimately don't work together on this, you can feel like you got something out of that and have a clear picture of what you need to do next to solve XYZ problem you said. Would that be valuable? Would that be worth your time? So again, I'm not selling them on the product or why they should attend the call because the product is so amazing. I'm selling them on their specific pain point and that we will help talk through that on the call and come up with a game plan together, even if it means we don't actually end up working together. That's the simplest frame that I always go back to. And then when you're in a position, you're on the actual sales call and you're walking through your product and you can help them, this is a much different conversation now because right now you're just fighting for attention. Once they've committed to that and booked, then that is when you can actually go sell the product on the actual sales call. All right, so let's bring this home with a bonus, okay? We'll put this one in red. All right, so bonus tip here. Shout out to Cole Gordon. Picked this up from him recently in one of the interviews I watched. And this idea is if you're in a sales slump or if you're in a setting slump, depending on what position you're in, what I want you to do on your next 5 calls. So next 5 calls equals you're not going to get off that call unless one of 3 things happen, okay? So you're either going to get a yes from them and you book the call, or you're going to DQ them because they weren't a good fit, financial, whatever, wrong avatar, etc. Or 3, they hang up on you. And why I want you to do this, or they just leave the meeting, right? Because very often, especially in sales, less than 10% of follow-ups typically will close. And if you don't handle something right then and there, it's going to come up later or when you're not on the phone, and then you're not going to have a chance to handle it. And so what you need to do is, even if they say no or they hang up on you, or this will help you watch those recordings and it'll show you what it takes to actually fight for it, to actually lean in when it's uncomfortable, to go that last 5-10% that most reps are unwilling to do because it feels awkward, it feels scary, it feels like you're going to burn the lead. But again, remind yourself, and you have to believe that it's doing them a disservice to actually get off the call right then and there and let them go, because it's very unlikely that they're going to come back. All right, so just to quickly recap, what we're looking at doing is you want to control the initial frame of the conversation by asking 2 very specific questions. Hey, Brian, right? And then asking a softball question, very binary, yes or no, makes it easy to get your foot in the door, move to the next part of the conversation. Number 2 is sidestep any initial objection that they do have, roll right into your next question, and always come from that place of service and belief that they need this and it's worth their time to have the conversation with you. And then number 3 is selling the sales call, because people want to know exactly what they're going to get out of it and whether or not it is worth their time. So hope you appreciated this video. If you want to check out what it's like to work with us and get help building some of these things out for you and your sales team, go check out the link below. You can check out a demo of our prospecting in a box system. And again, if you enjoyed this video, do me a huge favor, hit the like button and the subscribe button. It'll help us reach more people. And until then, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.